Okay, today's video is on 1 and 2 step equations and inequalities. Feel free to pause and get your paper set up like mine, so that way you can get started right away. So we're going to talk about the steps to solving equations. These should be familiar to you. So what we want to do is isolate any variable. So n minus 30 equals 51. I'm going to box. You can circle or box your variable. So I need to move everything away from that. So this says that I'm taking n and subtracting 30. So the opposite, right, we do inverse operations. So the inverse operation is to add 30. And if I do it to this side, I also do it to the other side. Another trick I have is to draw a line underneath the equal sign, so you know that you're doing the same things to both sides. So these cancel each other out, subtracting and adding turn into nothing. So I'm going to bring down the n, bring down the equal sign, and I'm going to do 51 plus 30, and I get 81. Okay, if I do a quick check, the way to check your work, okay, is to replace the variable with your answer. So n is 81, so it'd be 81 minus 30 equals 51. And if you type 81 minus 31 into the calculator, you will get 51, so you know that you're correct. Always make sure to check your answers, because then you know that you're 100% right. Okay, the second one. So if I use the same tactic, here's the variable p, and here's my line down. So in this case, this is the one that a lot of people mess up. P is being divided by -3. So if it's being divided by -3, the opposite is to multiply. So I want to multiply by -3 on this side, the left side, and on the right side. So this cancels with this, so I have just P equals 10 times -3, 10 times -3. Make sure you're using the negative, not the subtraction sign, so you get -30. Now, I'm going to go through and check that as well. So remember, you replace the variable with what you got. So that's -3 over, or -30 over -3, and that should equal 10. So if I go into my calculator and do alpha, the green button, y equals, it'll bring up the fractions. So I press enter. So I want -30 and -3, and I get 10. So I know I'm correct. So there's your one step. Now we're going to go to two-step equations. So two-step equations, okay, means there's going to be 2 steps to solving. We're going to do the same thing. Draw our line and box our variable. So the 5 is with the p. So I can't do anything with that yet because that's inside. I need to get rid of the stuff that's not with it, which is this -20. -20 is like subtracting 20. So the opposite of subtraction would be to add 20. Now my variable is over here this time, so I'm adding over here, which means I have to add to the other side of the orange line too. So 10 plus 20, you can use your calculator, you get 30 equals, these cancel, so this comes down. So I'm going to do the same thing. Now if I box my variable, I can box it by itself because there's nothing else. And now the 5 and the p are right next to each other. When there is no operation, like here you see a subtraction, right? Up here you saw a subtraction. Over here you saw a division. There's no sign. That means it's multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to show that by doing this. Divide 5. I'm not using the division sign. Divide 5. You're going to make it into a fraction. So these will cancel. I get p equals, and I do the same thing in my calculator. Alpha, the green button, and then the y equals button. Press enter. 30 on the top, 5 on the bottom, and I get 6. So my answer is 6. So if I want to check my answer, remember, I keep everything, but when there's a variable, I plug in what I got. So I got 6. So I'm going to make sure my calculator, this gives me 10, and it does. Okay, last one for this section is going to be this one. Now you should remember that when something's outside of parentheses, that means you have to distribute. That's always the first thing that you have to do. However, you can still box your variable and draw your line. That doesn't hurt. So 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times -2 is -4. R equals 30. And go ahead and solve this one. Okay, you should have paused and solved, so you should get -4. Check up here, make sure you carried the negative sign all the way through, and